Welcome all to another exciting episode of the People of Nature podcast. Today we have with us a multi-dimensional personality, Radhika Mulay ji, in our studio. Welcome Radhika ji to the People of Nature podcast.
Thank you so much, Pankaj. It feels great to be here and looking forward to the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you Radhika. So without further ado, let me introduce today's guest to our audience. Radhika Mulay has a MSc in Water Science, Policy and Management from the University of Oxford, UK. She has worked as an environmental researcher on an international academic activist research program, Acknowledge, at Kalpavriksha Pune. From 2020 to 2022, she worked as a senior researcher and was one of the authors of the book The Heads and Tails of Ganga River, the Cryosphere and the Delta, published by Intact Delhi at Gomukh Trust Pune. Currently, Radhika is based at the Center for Water Research, IISER Pune, and is exploring her interests in the field of water research. Her unique training as a water researcher and a dancer enables her to understand and work around water related issues not just from a scientific lens but also from an artistic perspective. So let us welcome once again Radhika ji to our studio.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So Radhika, you have a very interesting, I would say, academic or educational background, and we would like to explore. I know as we go ahead with these questions. So of course, the first question is you did a very unique degree as a master's degree, like it was a MS in water science,
Mhm.
and after that you worked as a researcher with Kalpavriksha, which is a major environmental NGO, all known across Pune as well as in India. So, working on a project about environmental justice documentation. Can you tell
Mhm.
us more about this journey and your this particular project, and what kind of scenarios about environmental justice in India, as currently we can see, and what do you think? What is the situation overall?
Uh, so, so the project which I was part of is called Acknowledge, which is
Yeah.
basically acknowledging environmental justice. So
Mhm.
one of the part of the project was working on an EJ Atlas, which is an online atlas which is
Mhm.
available and accessible to everyone, where
Okay.
uh, where the idea was to document different cases of environmental justices across the globe. So we were part of a project where we had different research collaborators from Spain, from Venezuela, from Bolivia, from India, Lebanon. So we all were contributing to the atlas
Mhm.
with various episodes and incidents or processes where we saw environmental justice, injustice cases happening. So
Right.
that was one part of it. Uh, and the idea was to understand the larger purpose of the atlas is to try and draw connections between what is happening in India and what is happening in another country, let's say in South America or in Spain, and to understand if there are any connections in the way how the processes are happening, how the systems are working, and through this understanding, can there be a holistic response, not just a one-off incident, but can there be a systemic way of responding to various issues? So that was the purpose of the project, and we were part of it. Along with it, the project also included a case study with where I was part of the Kutch case study, which was titled Sandini, and the study focused on the handloom weavers of Kutch, who are the Wankars, and the purpose of the study was to understand how the handloom weaving craft has transformed over the years, and how does it function in the existing economic market system, and therefore how are the processes on the craft making evolving, and are the processes and the steps ecologically friendly, are they socially as well as um, culturally cohesive. So that was one aspect of the project which I was part of. And
Mhm.
I think to conclude, not conclude, but to draw upon the learning from that project was all of these different cases spoke about how we are ignoring nature and how we are disconnecting ourselves with nature
Yeah.
throughout our everyday lifestyle. So I think that was one of the major learnings that I can think of.
It's
Yeah.
it's really it's very interesting indeed. I mean, maybe some of our audience is listening to this for the first time. That these kind of projects, I guess, are very important, especially for conservation and overall, like as you are mentioning, holistic conservation. So Radhika, you have worked on various projects, and one of those projects which we also mentioned in your bio was this very interesting interdisciplinary project that you talked earlier, that you mentioned in your bio, was the heads and tails of Ganga, the cryosphere and the delta.
Right.
So I guess in this you looked into geological, ecological, and socio-economic aspects of this one particular Indian river.
Mhm.
So can you tell us more about this work?
Right. So when we speak of Ganga River, generally the idea or the conception that we have is of Ganga from
Mm.
Uttarakhand, Gangotri, Gomukh,
Yeah.
and then in Kolkata, Diamond Harbour. Then we have those
Mhm.
important, culturally important places like Varanasi, Haridwar. Uh,
Correct. Yeah.
so but the focus, and therefore why we even took up this project under the
Mhm.
guidance of Professor Vijay Paranspe, was
Mhm.
to look at the most ignored or overlooked geological regions of Ganga,
Mhm.
which is the cryosphere, which is the entire area that lies in the
Right.
Himalayan region, which is filled with glaciers and snow and permafrost, and
Mhm.
looking at the tails of Ganga, which is the delta region in
Mhm.
the Sundarbans, which is divided between Indian borders and Bangladesh borders. So
Mhm.
the idea of the project was to understand that Ganga River, although culturally and historically we say originates at Uttarakhand at Gangotri, we see that approximately 40 to 42% of water in Ganga River as of presently comes from Nepali rivers, from Nepal region, and little bit
Mhm.
of the contribution of water also comes from Tibet, China. So the major
Mhm.
rivers from Nepal, Karnali, Gandaki, Saptakosi, all these rivers contribute almost half, like 42%
Mhm.
water in Ganga. But
Right.
because this region is not within Indian territories,
Yeah.
we do not consider these rivers, and this cryosphere region has to be an important aspect which affects the main stem of Ganga, which is within India.
Mhm.
Therefore, how we need to focus on the cryosphere. So, if we are planning to do something on Ganga, we need to take
Correct.
into account the headwaters.
Definitely. Yes.
So starting from the Yamunotri glacier, so origin of
Mhm.
Yamuna, Gangotri, and then going into the entire country of Tibet, Nepal, sorry, because the entire
Mhm.
country of Nepal is actually Ganga River basin. So all the
Right.
rivers in Nepal join and form Ganga River. So
Amazing.
that is up to the Kanchenjunga ridgeline,
Yeah.
which forms into the border of India and Nepal. So this we how we need to consider this entire region, and also why we need to consider is because with climate change,
Mhm.
Himalayas are warming at a much faster rate. So
Yeah.
these rivers and these glaciers are going to have great impact on the main stream of the river, which flows within Indian territories. So therefore,
Right.
the need to focus on cryosphere and do studies on the glaciers, permafrost, etc. And
Mhm.
in the tail end regions, again, there's a conception of how Ganga River ends into at Kolkata, right? Diamond Harbour through Bhagirathi Hooghly. But geologically and hydrologically speaking, Ganga River has been shifting her course from west to east in over approximately 300 to 250 years. And therefore, today, the main stem of Ganga actually flows into Bangladesh, where the river is known as Padma River. And Padma River joins with Brahmaputra River and Meghna and then flows into Bay of Bengal. So which forms the entire mega delta, one of the largest deltas in the world, which is rich with alluvial sediments which flow through the Himalayas. So And because it's also the tails, how we had looked at how the activities in the upstream region in the cryosphere as well as in the middle stream region of the river have impact all on the tail end regions. So all the pollution or the sedimentation or the infrastructure projects that we build in the main stem region and also in the cryosphere directly have an impact in the tail end region, which is the delta region. And again, once again repeating the idea, the issue of climate change, which is severely going to affect the tail end region. We all keep speaking about sea level rise. So, how this sea level rise, accompanied with pollution, sedimentation, infrastructure projects, all combine at the delta region and can have massive impact on the social and cultural life of the people who live over there. So, in the cryosphere, we know that there are communities who are called the transhumans or the pastoral communities, and at the tail ends we have the boat people, the communities who live on boats because the land is constantly shifting in the delta region. So in both the places we have migratory communities, and how the climate change will have drastic impact on these communities. And therefore we need to consider Ganga as a transboundary river. So Ganga is not just the national river of India, but becomes a larger river where becomes part of the Ganga Brahmaputra Meghna river basin. So any plans that we come up with, any projects that we come up with, need to consider this aspect of Ganga being a transboundary river and look at it as a holistic river. So I think that's a very brief idea of what we were trying to research and what we have tried to said in our book. And yeah, so that's about this
Wow.
work.
That's I mean, the way you describe this, I can visualize. I mean, of course, I cannot visualize. It's so huge. It's enormous, this Ganga River. And but the way you very beautifully, described it, I think each one of us should experience, the origin of the river and where it goes and what happens to the river. It's very exciting, this whole journey. Even if you take any small river in India or anywhere, any
Right.
small river, maybe like a very small stream also, and you can see where it originates, how this anthropogenic pressure plays a role, and what happens to the biodiversity. It's just
Right.
amazing. It's very exciting. It's very romantic, I would say. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yes, yes, and I
Great.
completely agree with your thought about how we need to even study the small rivers. In fact, even the
Exactly.
rivers which are in our cities, no, flowing through our cities.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
Amazing. So very beautifully explained, Radhika. Thanks a lot.
thank
Uh,
you.
moving forward, so I mean, so reverse. Okay, one thing, fine. So, but you also worked on this one of these regions called Mahabaleshwar Pachgani. So,
Hmm.
for people in Maharashtra, you all know Mahabaleshwar is a very famous, hill station, and so Maharashtrians basically romanticize Mahabaleshwar being the honeymoon spot,
Right,
for the state. But this is also very beautiful forest area. So
right,
Mahabaleshwar Pachgani Eco-Sensitive Zone Notification (MPES)
right.
uh, you reviewed the impact of this MPES. So what were your findings when you were working on this project?
So, this project again was conducted under the guidance of Professor Vijay Paranspe, and we were supposed to do a 40-year review of the notification, through which Mahabaleshwar and Panchgani areas were notified as eco-sensitive zone, and because they are notified as eco-sensitive zone, they need to be treated differently in terms of how the area is managed, how the area is governed, and how different decisions are even taken in the area. So our task was to do an analysis and review of what has happened in the last 40 years in the region, and what can happen and what should be done. So, as we all know, as you also mentioned, it's a famous tourist spot, right? So, one of the major findings, and I think which is also something that people keep saying very commonly, right? The number of tourists in Mahabaleshwar have increased drastically. So, which is to say that the rate of tourism has crossed the carrying capacity of this eco-sensitive zone.
Mhm.
And and because of which we see there are various biological biodiversity related issues which
Right.
are happening in the region. For example, we see uh, because of excessive tourism, we have demand and stress for transportation, infrastructure. So we see rise of hotels and restaurants all across the area. Along with it, we also see the issue of traffic because of private vehicles which crowd the area. And with that, we have solid waste management issues, pollution issues, not just of the forest areas, but also of the water bodies and the springs which originate in this rich forest. So, so the idea was to understand why we have come to this situation. And one of the most important um, conclusion is that we simply fail to abide by the common sense, I would say, is that every area has a limited capacity. So if we fail to abide by this capacity and we keep crowding the place is going to lose the ability to regenerate itself, to revive itself. And I think the project that we conducted was also during the COVID years. So it was also very fascinating to understand how when the tourism rate declined during the COVID years, uh, nature bounced back, because nature, I think forest and the biodiversity and all the species got time to revive themselves. So how the anthropogenic pressures are really taxing on this eco-sensitive zone. And I think the name also, that it's an eco-sensitive zone, says it all, that it's a sensitive area, which means that it needs special protection, it needs to be taken care of with care and affection, which we are failing. But while saying this, I would also like to highlight that there are we found many small initiatives, like small scale industries or NGOs and different civil society organizations who are doing commendable job in the area to take care of the biodiversity, to conserve specific species, to conserve specific areas like some grasslands or a few spring eco sheds. So we also see that there are some initiatives. What is important is scaling up of those initiatives, and those initiatives being taken seriously by the administration and also by the tourist. As when we go to these areas, I think we also need to be aware that we are entering into an eco-sensitive zone, and we need to be following a specific disciplinary way of acting in a tourist space. So I think as tourists, that is also something that we need to learn. And apart from it, we see that there are many uh, eco-friendly initiatives and alternative lifestyle livelihood, which is people themselves are coming up with. We have organic farming initiatives, we have we see plastic recycling initiatives. There are also ecotourism and agrotourism based initiatives. So giving strength to these initiatives also then becomes a very important task. So I think that some of the learnings, and most important learning for me was that I need to be a responsible tourist when I visit these
Right.
places. Like we all need to be.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. So amazing. So I have worked in that landscape for many years. I was also a part of this MPSC, the ESZ biodiversity, as one of the biodiversity experts. We did study some mammals and odonates over there,
okay.
and crisscrossing those mountains. Just being there used to be really fulfilling.
Yeah,
But I know, this
yeah.
touristy face is very different, and actual, this you said ecological sensitive. So that face of that place is very different.
Right.
But people
Exactly.
don't experience that. So it's sad, but I mean, it's
Yeah.
needed.
Yes.
Yeah. So Radhika, having really great talk with you so far. Now let me ask you about your current work. You work in IISER Pune, right? At the Center for Water Research.
Yes.
So can you tell us more about what you do, and what is the work that you guys are doing there?
Right. So the Center for Water Research at IISER is, as the name says, it's a research based organization, and we have different faculty members from within IISER who work in different departments, from humanities and social sciences to earth and climate sciences. We have economics, we professor. So there are different professors, different faculty and researchers who work together on different projects or different issues related to water. So as part of the center, I'm currently working on a project where we are conducting water audit of IISER campus itself. It's a 92-acre campus, and which has a student body, faculty body. We have huge staff and research labs on campus. So we decided that as a center, uh, we first need to check our own consumption patterns, right, on the campus where we are. So that was the intention. And also to understand, apart from the consumption patterns, can we uh, how do we decide to manage the water resources that we have in a sustainable way? So in order to do that, we first need to know how much water we have and how we are using the water. So therefore we are doing this water audit on campus, which is quantitative, uh, as well as qualitative, because we also uh, feel that much of our behavior related to water and how we perceive water has a lot of impact on how we consume water. So therefore it also includes qualitative analysis. So that's one aspect or one research project that I'm a part of. Apart from it, I'm also part of a river island study. So there's a river island called Naik on Mulamutha River, where it's almost a forgotten river island. So we're doing some study on the river island. And apart from it, there's an initiative called Living Waters Museum, which is part of the center. And the Living Waters Museum is actually um, trying to document and uh, draw upon uh, issues and solutions around water, speak about water, uh, not just from a research perspective but also from an artistic perspective. So therefore there's a project going on called Aquamuse, which is interdisciplinary project, and we have multiple partners from different countries and different river basins: river Nile, river Volga, and in India it's Ganga river in the Sundarbans area. So the idea of the project is, can we try and go beyond the conventional research methods, which generally have been criticized to be extremely hierarchical, where the local communities are excluded from the research itself. And therefore, can we think of employing art-based methodologies, research methodologies, to not just to understand and do research, but also to communicate to the larger audience, where the local communities also become one of the stakeholders of the knowledge process. And therefore the idea is, how the local craftsmen, how the local artists can come together to speak about their own experiences of floods, their memories of floods and disasters, considering climate change as and as a phenomena which is already at our doorstep. So that's that's Aquamuse and what some of the projects that we are working on at the center. So yeah.
Wow, that sounds really interesting. It's open to all. Is it like open to public? Public can come and
So
uh,
Living Waters Museum is actually a hybrid museum. It is
okay.
online, and there are also different exhibitions and different
Mhm.
installations which keep happening periodically. But the
I see.
online museum is always open. You can just Google Living Waters Museum and you will reach to the site.
Wow, that's amazing. That's really. I mean, it's a very beautiful concept. It's really nice.
It's the founder is Sarah Ahmed, who
Okay.
came up with this idea, and the Living Waters Museum is also part of the larger water museums across different
Mhm.
globes and networks. So that's some unique work that is
Right.
slowly built up. Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting. So Radhika, you also write a lot, and you're also a good science communicator. So, in your opinion, how much importance researchers should give to writing for layman and reaching out to layman to perhaps talk about their research or conservation on ground. What is your opinion about it?
I think it's extremely crucial because uh, there is a lot of research being done,
Hmm.
and there are brilliant minds at work. But unfortunately, that research work doesn't get translated into action and does not reach the research circles, I would say.
Yeah.
So I think it's extremely important that we reach out as researchers to larger audience, so that um, the actions are uh, informed and
Hmm.
logical, I would say.
Correct.
Uh,
Yeah.
so yeah, I think very crucial, definitely.
Okay. So Radhika, since your all work is around the water, right? Different types of water, I would say. So, and of course, we all know that water is a very, very important, aspect of human life or even wildlife. But it is getting overexploited. It is getting polluted. So, a lot of issues around water. So, what is your like opinion about it? What do you think? How we can join hands and conserve water bodies, or sustainably use our water bodies?
Um, so, as a researcher, the more I read about solutions, I would say, when people ask about
Mhm.
solutions, I think there's a lot of focus given on the supply side of water management. Like, how do we
Mhm.
bring in more water? How do we bring in more um, infrastructure for to supply
Mhm.
water, provide water to
Mhm.
all the areas, which is extremely important. But these solutions are also very technocentric. We are talking
Correct. Yeah.
talking only about technologies. We are talking only about economics. Like, how
Mhm.
much will it cost?
Right.
How much will this cost? So in all of this discussion, I think where we are missing the point is we are ignoring the demand side, and
Right.
which is where I think we all fall in, where
Mhm.
we need to really check our demand of water, and
Right.
how do we consume water. So that's one aspect of it, and also another aspect which I keep thinking about is how we, in the cities especially, we are all living in these apartments and uh, completely disconnected from our water bodies, and I think that is also one of the major issues, because we've lost the connection with our water bodies and with the natural water natural flow of the river, and therefore the way we also think about water, I guess, is very fragmented. And so I think there are two aspects of how we all need to approach is: one is really need to check our lifestyles, really need to check the demand that we are putting on water as an entity, and how are we connecting, are we taking any initiative, or are we taking any proactive steps to even connect with the water body which could be around us, a small
Right.
pond, a lake, even an old well which might be in the
Mhm.
surroundings, which is currently extremely polluted or degraded. Are we
Yeah.
making an effort to connect? So I think these two aspects are something that we all as individuals really need to
Mhm.
look at. Yeah,
Yes, definitely. I think people's behavior plays a very important role.
definitely.
I mean, what you said, definitely, but I can even see that when people know that there is, let's say, since we talked about apartments, we have 24/7 supply of water. So when we open the tap, perhaps we open it at the fullest, right?
Right.
So we know that water is there. Even if it's like summer days, water is going to be there because it is supplied through tankers or something like that.
Yes.
So I think there has to be a behavioral change from within, that we need to understand that each and every drop counts.
Yes.
Perhaps we are getting water 24/7 because we are privileged to get it, or we are paying for it. But there
Definitely.
are parts where the same water basically flows downstream. You have people not getting it. So yeah, I mean, it's as you mentioned correctly, it's like all this psychology around water, the behavior, the experiences with water. And I think we all should understand this. We all should teach our kids that look, this is a river, this is a pond, it dries during summer, there's no water over here, but we are
Exactly.
getting water because we are getting it from the harvesting from groundwater. So this understanding has to be there across.
Yes, definitely, definitely. You really said that important aspects. Oh yeah, and also because we can't see groundwater, we don't know what we are doing to it. No, so
Exactly, exactly.
with surface water, we know we are polluting it. It's reducing, but with groundwater, we
Mhm.
have no idea what we
We
are doing.
don't have, yeah.
And that's I think sometimes it's extremely scary to
Yeah.
imagine the water which has been stored for millennials we are
Yes.
extracting within 24 hours. So I
Exactly,
think
exactly.
it's crazy. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Great. So Radhika, you have been to various places, many ecologically important places. So can you narrate any of your memorable or maybe impactful field experience so far?
uh, I think there are many. I don't feel I would do justice to speak of anyone because they all are. Uh, every region has its own speciality. Every region has its own ecological and social culture. I think ecological culture as well. So. And it has evolved over decades, right? It evolved over decades of adaptation, mutation of multiple species, and interaction with the hydrology, geology of the region. So every region is very unique, and I think we need to appreciate each aspect. Like we need to appreciate the Himalayas as much as we appreciate the Sahyadris. Like we this distinction that this is a very important space and this is not, is, for me it doesn't make sense. First of all, uh, then I think one of the most impactful episodes, I would say, which also gave me the reason to study water in depth, was the 2013 Kedarnath floods. So I happened to be on a mountaineering course, basic mountaineering course at Uttarkashi. And while we were coming back from our field work from the glaciers, we were hit by the disaster. And our entire team, fortunately, was guided by the instructors at the institute, who also were from the army, from the military forces. And therefore, we were guided by them, where we had to uh, walk back to the institute for 2 days. And in that journey, we were seeing Bhagirathi River at her mightiest. And
Amazing.
that experience really forced me, I would say, really forced me to look into uh, river issues, and how are we looking at rivers and how are we managing, because we were actually seeing hotels and restaurants
Yeah.
drowning and being taken away by the river body. So I think that experience of being in that disaster, and after that
Mhm.
coming back and seeing the disaster on television and reading about
Yeah.
them, really made me think about rivers and water, and also uh, nudged me towards looking studying water in a lot much detail. So I think that is one of the most crucial episodes. Yeah.
Wow. It's amazing. It's scary
It
being
is,
there.
yeah, it is.
Yeah, but just amazing. Great. Of course, I mean, it must be having a really great impact on, and we can see, your career path and how you are now into water as such, right? So amazing. Great. It was really nice talking to you, Radhika. Coming to last few questions, and these are the questions we asked to all our speakers.
Sure.
Um, so the second last question: what challenges have you faced as a woman working in the environment field?
Honestly, I have not faced challenges. I know that it's very difficult for women to work in this field, but I've been privileged, and I would say I've been grateful to be working with people, with seniors, with colleagues and mentors
Mhm.
who have made sure that I've been given space to speak. I've been given space to do what I'm interested to do research and the way I
Mhm.
would like to do it. So it would be unfair if I say that, oh yes, I have faced a
Mhm.
lot of challenges. I think as a researcher, I would say I have faced challenges. I would
Mhm.
not say as a woman researcher.
Right.
As a researcher, I think it's a part of learning experience, how we work with different communities, and
Mhm.
also how we work in different setups, like working in NGO and then working in a research tank, now working in an academic institution. I think
Right.
each place has a different learning curve,
Correct.
and of course that comes with set of challenges, which is part of the learning experience.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
but yes, I'm extremely grateful to all the mentors and my colleagues who have been very supportive. So, and yeah, I think the situation is also changing slowly. There is growing
Mhm.
awareness. uh, People are being serious about work
Yeah.
that women researchers are coming up with. And yes, and when there are times when we see that there is some kind of in imbalance, it's nice that we have space now to speak about it.
Correct.
And so I think that space is very important. So as long as we protect that space to speak of, I think yeah, good.
Yeah. Great. So most of our speakers are of the same opinion. It's really great. I mean, it's nice to hear that there's equal opportunity given to everyone, and everyone is perhaps having the same issues, which is also fine because
Yeah,
researchers always would have some issues. We always
yeah,
have
I think
funding issues. Always
every profession
have.
has its
Yeah.
own challenges, right?
Right.
So
Nice. Okay, coming to the last question, and
yeah.
this is for our audience. So, what is your message to our this beautiful audience, to our nature interested audience?
uh, I think I would just say be with nature, be around nature, spend as much time as you can with rivers, with water bodies, with forests, with grasslands, with wetlands, all kinds of different ecological areas. Uh, and just being there present will be enough, I think, because it will teach us how to
Yeah,
behave with nature. So I think, yeah, that's it. Just spend as much time as we can. Hopefully, we become
yeah,
sensitive. Yeah.
yeah. You're speaking my mind. I was already in the forest. I was watching butterflies.
Wow. Beautiful.
Great.
Yes.
Thanks a lot, Radhika. It was amazing discussion with you. We discussed in deep about water. I think no other speaker has, like, we never had such a discussion about the kind of extent of water, or from where does it come, where does it go, and how do we think about water. So this was like all water kind of a talk. It was amazing. I loved it. So
And
thanks
I
a
would
lot.
like to thank you as well, you, Pankaj and Arjit, your colleague, for
Yeah,
having me here. And it's always nice to meet new people and to connect with more people. So, yeah, thank you so much.
thank you.